Okay.
Yes. All right. Well, here's the great Arthur Mortel as our inspirational and leader of business, motivation, and chess.
Very good. Dennis, so good to hear you today. Thank you so much for a beautiful intro. And my book, The Courage to Fail, published by McGraw-Hill. And we've been family for a very long time. It's a phenomenon for me to think that Bruce Mulhern attended my lecture for the California Real Estate Association, a leadership conference in Palm Springs in 1969. Dennis, how old were you in 1969?
I was 11 years old, and you know what? Bruce texted me. Now you know I'm teasing. Bruce texted me to attend that meeting, but my mom would not let me ride my bike from Montebello to Palm Springs, so I could not attend. So.
Very good. So the first thought for today, think of what you study in life to be successful. And I'm going to suggest to you, now, well, there's certain basics we all need to learn. Reading, how to do math, simple addition. Then in the overview, possibly the most important class, course, topic you could ever take in school, beginning in grammar school through graduate school. More important, in my opinion, than math, technology, science, history, is critical thinking. And Dennis will use a similar term, strategic thinking. Now, critical thinking, in my opinion, the best way for us to learn critical thinking is through chess. So one of the books I'm writing right now is entitled Critical Thinking, Chess, and the Game of Life. So in a moment, I believe George, Mr. Sullivan, is going to put up our chess set. And while we're doing that, let me continue philosophizing for a moment before we get specific. Now, I'd like you to think back to the challenges you confront and what kind of qualities you need to develop to succeed in your business as well as your personal life. As an example, when you have your first child and the child gets to a certain age, he wants to go out and play, there's one rule you always teach the child. You never step off the curb unless you look both ways. And in chess, that's going to be a major challenge. That how often, even now, I'll make a move and that suddenly I realize I've been blindsided because I'm not looking in every direction. I want to get philosophical for a moment. There are two kinds of animals in this world. There are animals that are herd animals. They're hunted. And then there's the predator, the hunter. And so notice the difference between the two. One physical characteristic separates the predator from those that are preyed upon. And that is the position of their eyes. You'll notice cows, sheep, antelope, gazelles, their eyes are on the side of their head. It's a survival mechanism. They're looking in both directions at the same time. Where the hunter, the coyote, the tiger, the lion, the bear have their eyes looking straight ahead. They look into the future and they are predatory, laser beam focused, but they can get blindsided. They don't have that peripheral vision. So how effective are you in developing peripheral vision? To look both ways before you make a move. So a moment ago, Dennis commented that along with my book, The Courage to Fail, he reads every year John Maxwell. You may want to Google John Maxwell, a famous international speaker. I've lectured in a dozen countries around the world, and John's out there. And his most successful book, I think it's got 25 million copies have been sold, is Becoming a Person of Influence. And if you read that book, he quotes me in that book. And he quotes me on one point, that you don't make a move until you know the reason why the other person made their move. So let's begin with that critical thought. In our business, whether you're trying for a listing or a sale of a home, you do not say anything until you really listen to people and what they're saying to you. And then you make your move accordingly. Now, George, how are we doing on getting a chess set up? Is that possible?
You know what, Art, I think we can do it now. So I'm going to send a link to George.
Okay. So we're going to get our chess up if possible. We had a little technical glitch today to be able to get it moving more easily. However, as we're talking about it, I want to try the next concept. And that is the second. The first is peripheral vision. Do not step off the curb unless you look both ways. Do not say anything until you really understand what the other person said, and then you respond accordingly. The next one I want to play out with you is how many moves you can think into the future. So in a game of chess, it's a phenomenon. Some of the great chess players who can literally think 25 moves in the future. If I do this, he'll do that. If I do this, she'll do that, back and forth. And it's quite a challenge for anyone playing chess to even be able to get 3 or 4 moves in the future, let alone 5 or 6. So Dennis, when he speaks about this concept, uses the term advanced, thinking into the future, advanced thinking. It's all the same idea. So I'm going to be asking you your ability to think into the future, to say, if I do this and they do that and I do this, how many moves into the future you can think is going to be one of the most critical factors in your success. So, and look at, by the way, for those of you who might be into football, chess and football are somewhat the same. You know, to some extent, chess is merely the mental game of football. And as an example, football, you want to sack the quarterback. Now, there's my first point about chess specifically. You want to sack the king. And the king is on that first row. It's got a cross on its head, on that crown. So that is your king. Now, we're going to go right now. George, you ready to help me? Move by move. And admittedly, I have the meeting being recorded in front of me, but we can work around that. So, Leilani, do we need to keep that up?
Do you see the chessboard?
Okay, we're working. Yes, okay, we are working now.
So I made my move.
Perfect, great job. So here we go. I'm going to now teach you chess. As complicated as it is, as challenging as it is, if we really go quickly, it can be done in less than 6 minutes, but I'm not going to rush. So the second column, the second horizontal column, you notice they all look the same, and they have pawns. And when they move, they can, on the first move only, they can go 1 or 2 squares. George just moved 2 squares. After that, it's only 1 square at a time. So, who's got black, by the way? Help me out.
Oh, George has black. I just moved my white pawn 2 squares.
So, George, do me a favor, move the same pawn up to Leilani's pawn. Can you do that? There we go. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, these 2 pieces are now stuck. They can't do anything. They can't move back. They can't take the piece in front of them. They can't move diagonally. They are stuck. So the pawn, one more time. First time it moves, 1 or 2 boxes. After that, 1 box at a time. If it confronts a piece in front of it, as we have now, they're stuck. We're going to move on to our second piece, and that is the knight. So, Leilani, do me a favor and move the king's knight, which is on G, and make that L-shaped move for me to attack George's pawn.
Okay.
And are we being blocked at all? I'm not sure with the recording.
Okay. Right
so
there.
That's not working. Okay. Now, so now the knight moves in an L shape. It is the only piece that can jump over other pieces. And that's what Leilani just did. It moves in a 1-2 combination. She moved 2 squares up. She moved 1 to the side, and that's how the knight moves. And she's now in a position to take George's pawn. So, George, do me a favor. Let's show how the bishop works. The bishop is on B and F. The bishop moves as far as it wants, diagonally. And one's on the dark square, one's on the white square. So that's the concept. We have one on both diagonal lines. Do me a favor, Leilani, could you move your bishop up to, let's try C, let's move up 3 squares.
Okay, so George will move.
So, the bishop moving up 3 squares, or as far as you want. Okay, good. Now, the next piece we're going to discuss is the rook. Many people call it a castle. So the rook moves as far as it wants horizontally. But right now, both of them are locked in. The only way we can get them out is to start moving pieces forward. So do me a favor. Let's move a pawn in front of the rooks. 2 squares up. Let's create some room. And do me a favor. Could you do the other rooks since I'm being blocked by view? There we go. 2 squares up. Well done. Now the rook has got some room to work. So in a quick overview, I have now shown you how the pieces, every one of them move except the queen, which is the most powerful piece on the board. And for men, that's very difficult to accept. She is the most powerful piece. Her main job is to protect the king. That kind of makes sense then, that we want the women in our lives to protect us so we don't get in trouble. Okay, so with that thought in mind, the queen can go as far as it wants, just like the bishop and the rook, as far as it wants, both horizontally and also diagonally. With that thought in mind, I'd like you to move the pawn up from the queen 2 squares. The pawn in front of the queen, 2 squares, and let's illustrate one more thought. So here we go. There we are. Now I'm going to show you how pieces take. The pawn can only take diagonally. So let's take the pawn. The white pawn will now take the black pawn, and we'll show how that works. So one more time, we discussed the pawn. 1 or 2 squares the first time, only 1 square afterwards. If it meets someone in front of it, it is stuck. The only way it can take is diagonally, and we just demonstrated that. Now, with that thought in mind, let's try the bishop taking the pawn by the queen, or by the king, that is. So let's try the bishop, just showing how the bishop takes another piece. So if we can move the black bishop to the pawn by the king, and how we doing?
I got distracted by this.
So is that working?
Where's moving, Art?
Art, George,
Bishop, move.
So the bishop takes the pawn by the king.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Is it working? Now, the king is the last piece we haven't discussed. We discussed the pawn moving forward. We discussed the bishops moving diagonally. The knight, complex piece, L-shaped, combination of 1, 2, or 2, 1, and the rook will show in a moment moving horizontally. The last piece we haven't discussed is the king. The king only moves 1 box at a time. So let's take if the king could now take the bishop, that would be super.
this way?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's
Good, well done. Now, we have now demonstrated how every piece moves. Let's move the queen out. So if we can move the black queen any way you like, just to show how it moves out. 1 or 2 squares, 3 or 4, whatever. Okay, well done. Now, one last time before I go on to philosophy, if we can move the rook on A, 2 squares up. There we go. And so the rook can now move as far as it wants to the right later on. And how,
it's not letting
I
me.
just realized something. We have the king in check, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move the king out.
Night.
Yes.
Ah.
So here's the first part. Admittedly, I'm being a little bit blocked by the recording, but you'll notice that the queen has now attacked the king. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So therefore, the king has 3 ways to save itself. It can either have a piece take the queen, if that's possible, or it can put a piece in between the king and the pawn. Let's try that one. We have now blocked the queen from attacking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Good. So we're in good shape on that part. So we have now covered how each piece moves. Let me take a few minutes in my closing time with you. And by the way, if any one of you would ever like to just play a game with me alone for lessons like Dennis and I are doing, I will take you through a personal exercise. I would enjoy that. So let me take a few moments to finish our program today. And that is the next concept that we discussed, peripheral vision. Look both ways. Don't step off the curb unless you look both ways. We talked about thinking into the future. How many moves in the future you can think. We discussed the fact that you don't make a move until you know the reason why the other person made their move. Next thought, whether it's American football or international soccer. When it comes to basketball going on right now, any sport basically, like hockey, you want to balance offense and defense together. So here's a thought. You spend your day being both productive and protective. Some companies get in great trouble because they're very productive. They're moving out. They're making things happen. They score, win. However, they're not being protective. And sometimes there's a compliance problem. Sometimes they gamble too quickly on making certain moves, and then we confront a financial disaster. So in business, in your personal life, in chess, in football, you want to balance being productive and protective. How effective are you at making things happen, but are you also successful in making sure you don't get in trouble? And so a thought, balancing offense and defense. And what a phenomenon it is if you watch chess or you watch football, when you can do both at the same time, when you can find that balance in your life or in business, that you're taking steps and moving forward, but you're also making sure you're protecting bottom line, you're not getting in trouble. That's a critical thought in life, in chess, and in your business and football. Now, next thought. A real phenomenon, if we were to spend more time speaking strategically. And this is one of, again, Dennis's favorite concepts, to think strategically. Critical thinking is to, if I ever could play a game with you and show you to illustrate a critical part, and that is being willing to sacrifice a piece in order to strengthen your position. So we look at life, we look at baseball, basketball, we're dealing with three elements: time, space, and energy. In a game of chess, as an example, you got the clock running. All championship games have a clock running. And sometimes I could be ready to win a game. Whoops, my clock just ran out. I ran out of time. I took too much time to think. I didn't move quick enough. And there's a part of life, the dimension of time. And so that's the first part. Time, space, and energy. Space is the next part. In chess, you want to get control of the board. You want to be on the top of the mountain, and that's the center of the board. How much of our lives is based on being in the right position at the right time? Time, space, and energy. And the third part, energy, has to do with the power of every piece in chess. Each piece has a certain power, but alone they really can't do that much, because just one piece by itself sometimes doesn't work. When you can learn how to bring pieces together in chess, when you can learn how in football to get everybody working effectively as a team, and that surely is your business as well. So let's think about this concept. When in life, in business, in your personal life, you need to know when to function independently. Leilani and I discussed earlier today, resilience. How resilient are you that you can function on your own, make things happen by yourself, to develop that independence? But how often we need to be a team player. We need to be able to turn to someone else for help. So, and I'll never forget watching in Boston, a Chicago Bulls playing the Boston Celtics. And it was a phenomenon to watch the Boston year. That year, the Boston was not a good team. And the Chicago Bulls were a championship team. And Boston was winning the game. It was the first year of the season. And I'm wondering what's going on here. They're doing so badly. And then, right toward the end of the game, when it appeared it was over, Boston had won the game. And by the way, Michael Jordan was doing a great job. He was being a team player. He was passing the ball, but all of a sudden, it's almost too late. And the moment I thought the game's over, Chicago's won, suddenly Michael Jordan stopped playing team basketball. He won one-on-one, turned the game around, and he won. So we know that people will say there's no I in team, but there is an I in win. And so you got to know when to be a team player. You've got to know when to function on your own with resilience, independently. And that applies in life. It applies in chess. It applies to football. You got to know when one piece alone can have a dynamic effect and succeed, but how often we only succeed, we bring all the players together and function as a single unit, knowing when to be which. And the next part I want to play out with you, I touched on a moment ago, and that is knowing a single thought in life, that when you have time, space, and energy, the energy of each piece, the power of pieces coming together, that if we compare the power of our pieces, the energy they have, and we compare that to your position on the board, you're going to discover in chess that it's sometimes better to sacrifice a piece in order to improve your position. It's the phenomenon to see these great games. if you ever were to Google the game of the century with Bobby Fischer, 13 years old, playing David Byrne, the American champion, 43 years old. And what in that game, Bobby Fischer did at 13 years old to sacrifice, give up his queen. And suddenly the whole game changed because it changed the position of the pieces and he went on to win. Are you willing to make sacrifices in your life to give up something you've got in order to improve your position in life so you can move forward into the future, thinking how many moves into the future, and that's part of the game. So, closing thoughts right now. Put the energy of your pieces together. The people in your life who can help you function well, be able to develop strategies, to be able to develop the mindset that you're going to win. And if I were to play chess with you and give you personal lessons, I'd enjoy it. I'll ask you a question ahead of time. Would you like to beat me or would you like to get better? Because in life, you got that choice. I hope that you would prefer in life to lose a game in order to learn how to get better. That's part of our ego. Now, does anyone have a question for me? Leilani, Dennis, George, any questions in our closing moments together?
Art, could we
Yes.
show them about sacrificing a piece to win? Because oftentimes we get distracted of focusing on something else and we're not focused on the goal because we get distracted in our business.
Sure.
Could I do a chess one so that you could show?
Well, let me instead, I have a thought in my head I'd like to play out with you on what you just said.
Okay.
Think of the challenges we confront in our business. How many of us join this company because we're going through a financial challenge or maybe a divorce and we're struggling? And to come into this business requires making such a great sacrifice. Maybe the greatest sacrifice we make, more than the money we may spend to be able to get the training we need, is the sacrifice of our own ego. Because when we come into this business and we're trying to contact people and get a listing, and that's a sacrifice. Because how often do we get rejected? Someone says no to us. Maybe they hang up. Maybe they use bad language when they hang up. And that can really hurt our feelings. And it becomes a sacrifice of our ego to go through that. So how important is it for us to develop resilience, that ego strength, that we can deal with the rejection, the disappointments that can cause us to get discouraged, even depressed. So it's our ability to sacrifice our ego, put our ego on the line every day and be willing to be rejected and go through that experience to make that sacrifice. So we end up, if we contact enough people, we're going to succeed. I like everyone to write down 5 words. Someone out there needs me. If you contact enough people in a day, someone's going to say, I can't believe your timing. We were just discussing this morning at breakfast. It's time to sell our home, cash in our equity, and move to Oregon or Utah for half the price, and we got money in the bank. Who told you to call me today? I want to know that person's name. I can't believe your timing. You have to believe that. Someone out there needs me. You got to keep making those contacts. And when you make those contacts, your ego is going to get damaged and hurt. No. Strengthen your resiliency. Change your attitude toward disappointment. Be willing to fail in order to learn something new and get better. To think into the future, not to make a move into the reason why the other person made their move. I'm getting warmed up here. Now, that's what I'd like to play out with you on that thought, that concept. Good. Okay, so we're at that time. Any closing thoughts or questions otherwise?
I've got just something. Art, I really wish I would have heard you about 15, 20 years ago.
Yes.
This is so inspiring to look at everything we do. And this is a difficult business, and everything that we do, it starts with some baby steps. You've got to get the client to make an offer. It might not be the winning offer, but they have to make an offer. It's a test of their willingness to buy a house. And had I thought about the process that you outlined in strategy, that would have resulted in so many more people in homes. And so thank you for what you've shared with us here today.
I love it. That was well done. Thank you so much. I want to hold on to your words for a moment. You used 2 critical parts. You discussed baby steps and you discussed process. So I'm going to say to you, first of all, that everything in life is a process. Dennis has been to my home in Malibu. The process I went through to build that home. I had broken 3 hours in the Boston Marathon. San Diego was 40th out of 3,000. It was a process to accomplish it. To start my new business in 1967, they booked McGraw-Hill publishing my book. All the countries I've been to, everything I've done in my life was a process. And one of the easiest ways for me to succeed in taking on any one of these challenges was understanding simply the concept. You said it a moment ago, and that's baby steps. The willingness to take baby steps. When you're going down a mountain skiing, and I've been up in Mammoth, and I went to a level I was not ready for. I was scared, and I found the solution. I traversed down the mountain, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, back and forth, and it saved me. So you got to be able, when you're under stress, when you're being confronted by overwhelming challenges, make it easy on yourself. Go a little bit this way, a little bit that way, spread it out, and take baby steps. I suggest everyone watch the movie if you've never seen it before, or to refresh, and that is What About Bob? Is that the title, by the way? I have the memory quickly on that, with Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. And it was all about baby steps, taking a little step at a time. So that way, if you fall, you don't crash, you only trip, taking baby steps. So let me do a quick review on process. One of my favorite processes in your business is 5 words: awareness, interest, evaluate, analyze, and adopt. You want to make people aware of who you are. My name is Art Mortel with Berkshire Hathaway. I just like to make your acquaintance. And the second step is to get them interested enough to see you again, to receive an email, to meet with them, to take them out to Starbucks. So you make people aware of who you are, then you get them interested in meeting with you. And the third word is to evaluate. Evaluate your proposal. Evaluate the suggestions you're making. Maybe it's to discuss how the house might be more attractive for a little investment in gardening or whatever, and look how much more the return is going to be. We got them evaluating. Then the fourth step is to do the analysis, analyzing the numbers. Here's what I'm proposing to you. Here's what it's going to cost to do this and that. And let me help you to make your house more valuable. And this is what I would suggest. And let's look at the numbers. And then hopefully in the end, the fifth step, they go into adopt you as the realtor to sell their home or to find the house for them. So there's what you just spoke about a moment ago. It's a process. We're taking people through steps, and they're baby steps. Because all you're asking a person is to allow you to make their acquaintance, to be aware of who you are. How could someone really say no? Oh, sure, they're going to say no. But if you're asking very little, a baby step, then if they say no, it's only going to be a little rejection because you're not asking for that much. And we take it a step at a time. Are you okay? Good.
Art, have you warmed up yet, or are you?
I haven't had any coffee yet. If I were to, I'd be yelling and screaming right now. So I'm speaking slowly and very calmly at the moment.
This is how we talk at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, great to be with you. Leilani, any closing thoughts?
I think one, if I can just have you share one more, is about, getting to the mountaintop. On the chessboard is the middle of the chessboard is the mountaintop. That's
right, the mountaintop. So in battle, you want to be on the mountain. You want to be able to see everyone coming at you and to roll big boulders at them. And so the same thing applies in life. So I ask you a question. Are you on the mountaintop? Are you in control of your life, or is the world coming down around your shoulders? What can we do in thinking into the future, critical thinking, that gets us on the mountaintop? That we are in control of our lives rather than the world controlling us. And that's part of chess, football, every challenge of life. Get to the top of the mountain. Get your control of your life. What are the baby steps we can take to accomplish that? Good?
Good. Thank you.
Anyone
else? If you have a burning question?
Okay. Maybe a simmering question.
Simmering question.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Good to be with you today.
Thank you, Art.
Arthur. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you, everybody. Leilani, George, everybody, Chino Heights jumping over. Let me just say this real quick in closing. What Art's talking about being strategic, critical thinking. That is not just going for listing presentation. That's a marketing presentation with the seller and the steps. And the conversion over to the buyer side, that's doing more buyer counseling than upfront before you take your buyers out. As Scott alluded to, it's a process. And it's taking your buyers so you educate them. So if they make offers on properties and they do not get their offer accepted, they know it's part of the process in today's market. So learning that is very helpful, I think, for agents. It's not just a sales position, it's a marketing process and working through that. So being critical thinking, the more we do that, the more obviously your clients will work through the situations.
And I think too, Dennis, just to add on that, is that we want to look at it as a service that we're
Right.
providing rather than trying to get that sale. So
Right.
it's a mindset of service to the people.
Right. Create the relationship, the connection. Per
How are you,
National
boy?
Association of Realtors, 70% of business last year, there was 6.1 million sales in the United States. 70% came from sphere of influence, which means we need to keep that connection on a personal and business level working through, and that how you will create your success for your family.
Thank you, both of
All right,
you.
King Arthur, I will be back in touch with you later today, my friend. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Art.
Thanks, Leilani and George. Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
take
Stay
care.
well.
Oh, wait. Let's take a picture real fast.
Okay, take a picture. Yeah,
Okay.
take a picture. I want to be as
If you
good-looking as our-
put your video on, if you can, but if not, we'll just take a real
Put your
quick
video. Come
picture.
on, listen.
Come on, don't be shy.
Jackie, we're playing phone tag. My bad. We'll be talking the next day or so. So,
Okay, so George will take our photo. Okay,
ooh, George.
please. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Art,
Have a great day. Thank you, Art.
wonderful.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, take care. See you guys
Thank
later.
you.
Thank
Bye
you.
now. See
Yeah.
you.
Okay, bye-bye. Don't hang up, everybody. We're going to continue with our meeting, okay? All right. Well, wasn't that amazing? Just a lot of words of wisdom.
I'm well spent.
I know. We could actually end now, but we won't. And
We're on the
because
mountaintop.
we're on the mountaintop. Well, thank you all of you for being present for our meeting today. I wanted you to really hear Art because I thought he had a lot of good points that will help us in our challenge in this real estate business that we are in, and especially during these times when it is a seller's market, and if you're representing a buyer, it's really difficult. And before all of this happened, yesterday we had a test run with Art, and he couldn't hear us, but we could hear him. Later on, Rasha came and helped us out, and we found out the link that we were using was corrupted. And then we found out his audio was not working, so we had to get that. And then this morning, the chess.org wouldn't work, so we already had a backup plan. So one of the things he talks about was resilience. You know, we always have the best laid plans, but it doesn't always go the way we want it to go. But we have to learn how to adjust and then keep moving forward to conquer the mountain. Okay, with that, I'd like to turn it over to our affiliates, Caliber Home Loans, Brian and Maria. Thank you.
All right, good morning, guys. So yeah, Art was really cool. He had some really great takeaways. One of the ones that I stood out to me was that the queen is the most powerful player on the board. I couldn't agree more with that. So
And that's good for you to say that, Brian.
that was the best takeaway
He's
for
a
me.
wise man.
Yes.
So basically, what we wanted to talk about today was, we had been getting a lot of questions about the condo questionnaire form, condo cert. So just to kind of clear it all up for everyone and kind of make it a little bit easier to understand. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in October of last year, they said that there's going to be a new change to their condo questionnaire form that was going to take effect January of this year. So what happened was, I'm sure we're all aware of the condo collapse in Florida that, really devastated a lot of lives out there. So what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac want to do to avoid that happening again is any new loan on an existing condo complex requires either a full review or a limited review of the condo questionnaire form. So the condo questionnaire form, in essence, is a form that just asks about the units, the owners, if there's any special assessments, if there's any people that are behind on their payments, anything like that that can reduce the HOA or the management company's ability to repair or do any kind of maintenance to the facility. But what happens is there's a certain question on there that asks if there's any deferred maintenance. Now that's becoming an issue on certain associations and certain complexes, because deferred maintenance really means that this needs to get done, but we're deferring doing it right now. Now, that can be an issue when it comes to doing a loan on a condo, because this new questionnaire form requires some detailed information as to why is there deferred maintenance, when is the deferred maintenance scheduled to be completed, and if at all, what's going to happen after the deferred maintenance is done. So that is what is causing issues with certain HOA companies. Now, not everyone, but there's some HOA companies that they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to put, information that they don't know on there. So some of them are not even, filling that part out. Now, what that's causing is there's certain delays that are happening on transactions where we order the condo questionnaire form to be completed by the HOA. They see that new paper or the new question. They defer it to their lawyers. Their lawyers are, reviewing it, conferencing about it. And it's just, time is just passing by, and, we're in an active escrow on a live deal. So that's what's causing some delays on some deals right now, where the lawyers or the HOA are getting their lawyers involved. The lawyers are not answering the questions that we need. So I know there was a transaction that happened in the office where there was a lot of delays in the transaction that Caliber was a part of. And we just want to kind of clear the air on that and just let you guys know that it was there was a few issues that were going on, but one of the majority of the issues that we couldn't get the HOA to fill out the questionnaire form, in a timely manner, and that really delayed us and delayed the transaction, along with a couple of other things that happened. But that was really the biggest part of it. And then so now moving forward, what we have done in working with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to kind of eliminate these kind of situations is we have the ability to decide as soon as we run the application to the automated underwriting system, if this condo complex can be a full review or a limited review. So the reason why that's a benefit to you guys is because if it comes back that it's a limited review, then all we need to do is get an appraisal ordered and have the appraiser comment on if there's any deferred maintenance on the property or anything like that. The appraiser could comment on that, and if they comment that everything's good, then that's all we need. So that has caused a lot of transactions that were going with the limited review to kind of speed up. So that's a huge benefit because it's just kind of like a workaround that we developed that that we can use on our transactions. So based on that, the condo, the rules are still the same. It's just the guidelines for the question has changed, and that's really what is causing a lot of problems for certain HOAs. But that's pretty much what I want to share with you guys, that there is a solution to every problem. We just have to work together to get there. And I don't know, Marie, I think you wanted to add something else to it.
Yeah, I just basically wanted to say is that although this came up, honestly, it came up very suddenly. We do have a condo team, and the condo team has, just taken it all in and has tried to, since last October, try to make it as easy as it can for us. It's a very streamlined at this point, and if we can get the appraiser behind us and the appraiser can sign off most of what we need, then we're going to be in a good position. And it basically is coming back to the HOA. The HOA is the person that as always has been, they can answer the questionnaire or they don't. When they don't, then that's when we have to start looking behind the HOAs so that we can get the information we need. I think it's information we've needed all along. It's just that there's a few more questions now that are being asked of the HOA. And I believe that personally, I think that the HOA has been in a position where they really don't know how to answer the questions that Fannie, and Freddie has put on them. So I think they had been scrambling to a point of trying to figure it out. Of course, we don't want anything to happen like what happened in Florida. And I think the closest place we have to that would be in Long Beach. We just have to, it's an older community. So we want to make sure that it's safe for everyone to be there. Again, I think if we get the appraiser behind us, in that we give the appraiser the job to be able to write off a lot of perhaps what the HOA doesn't have readily available to them, I think we're going to be in a better position. Other than that, I just want to say, I've done several condos in the Long Beach area, and they've all gone fairly well. And I think at this point, perhaps at the beginning when the new guidelines came in, everyone was scrambling. But right now, I think we're all really aware of what's going on. Now we know what we need, and we've streamlined it so that it's easier and there's not going to be any delays.
We have a question in the chat. Do you see condos being required to get earthquake insurance if they don't already have the insurance?
So most condos, they have an umbrella policy over the actual structures. For a homeowner, their insurance is required for everything inside of the walls. So like their furniture, every stuff like that. So most condo associations already have the insurance for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we move on? So George, if you could share the next one. Oh wait, it seems appraisers might be required to have more structural experience.
So every appraisal that gets ordered has a different code. So for a regular, SFR, single family residence, 1 unit, it's a certain code. For multi-unit, it's a different code. For a condo, it's a different code. So when we order the appraiser to go out there, we let them know what kind of unit or what kind of property it's going to be, and they should have the experience of like structure and determining the value of the property, based on the type of property that they're appraising. So it's really just a case by case. It could be maybe that there's a new appraiser on a job, but that's really unlikely because most appraisers are ordered through an appraisal management company that handles what appraiser does the job. So they won't really give like a rookie appraiser a condo or something like that requires a little more due diligence.
And not only that, but I think especially when they do have a new appraiser, I think the management for the appraisal company is going to review the appraisal before it gets to us. Once it gets to us, like Brian said, based on the code, we immediately look at that code. That way we know what we're dealing with. When the code is one of where it requires a lot of repairs, we're immediately going to know without even looking at the repairs, just simply by the code. And I know that the management for the appraisal company, they will review it, especially with the new appraisers. So I think we're safe and we're okay to feel confident that even the new appraisers are reviewing it with all the knowledge that they should be.
Okay, thank you. And George, if you can pull up, our lenders give us a lot of good information, valuable information to help us with our transactions. So next week, next Thursday, we are doing a combined lenders lunch and learn with both Caliber and Evolve Bank and Trust. So it'll be next Thursday, April 7th at 1 p.m. and it'll be live at our Chino Heights office. So put that in your calendar if you're feeling up to meeting in person, and also to find out more. I believe Caliber will talk about some down payment assistance programs, perhaps, or others. And then Ragnar will talk about the non-QM loans. Okay? So if we can undo that, thank you. And let us know so that we can plan on how much food we're going to need for that event. Okay, the next on our agenda is just the VHHS email password and change. Thank you to those of you who took care of those password changes. Beverly, I think you've been reaching out to folks. Do you want to say anything?
There's still a few that haven't, or like some have contacted me saying I can't get in. So I've explained, and then I've told them to add the S for the ones that didn't make the change, and then they came back and said they were able to access.
So, okay, I won't say it because we're recording, because I was going to say what your password is, but I don't want to say it. Okay, so just connect with Beverly and we'll take care of that. And then Jackie, we'll talk about sky slope guidelines and some tips. Jackie?
Well, I was gone for weeks, so maybe there's some transactions that were put into Sky Slope and I'm not aware of them. But I do know that there are several people that wait to put Sky Slope forms in, and there's a 5-day rule. When a form is fully executed, it needs to be able to be put into Sky Slope. Have me check it all within 5 days. Well, that doesn't happen too often. As I'm sure Leilani, she's calling you at the end of the month, trying to see if your transaction's going to close. But, she needs her numbers. And if you don't put it in there, that causes us, her a problem with that. But the bottom line is, if we're ever audited, we could be in trouble because we are not adhering to what is being, the law here. And we do need to put forms in after they've been executed within 5 days. And I do my best to try to get in there. I don't want to make you guys miserable because I know there's a lot of forms. But also saw another one with no property profile in there and about 17 or 18 forms. Well, I don't understand how you can do a transaction and that would be the first thing you would do, was to see who that property belongs to. If you don't pull a property profile, you can depend on realists and other things, but you really need that. So anyway, anything else you want to add?
Thank you, Jackie.
5 days is really, and then you can't expect me to check it all in 1 day either, and you won't get your money.
And you know what? It's not because we're trying to be hard, it's we want to keep you safe.
Yes.
And I know in the past, people may get into a litigation situation, but if we can't even see the file, we cannot help you. And it's easy to make a mistake, and so our job is to be your net to catch you in case there's a problem. And so if you have a listing agreement or a purchase agreement, those things need to be uploaded right away to our SkySlope transaction management. And it's really for your benefit, not for ours, but it is for all of us. Because remember, we talked about team. So together, everyone achieves more. So, and I just would like to encourage all of you to do that. If you don't know how to do SkySlope, talk to Jackie, or you can call me.
We can talk it over the phone.
Yeah.
In most cases, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, once you get it, it's very easy. At the beginning, just logging on and just knowing how to upload is difficult because it's another learning curve. But once you get that done, it's simple. And then that way it doesn't pile up at the end and then you're scrambling to put everything up, but we're already out of compliance. And then, of course, you know, for me, I have to account for our sales for the month. But if you don't get it in time, I cannot give numbers to corporate and it doesn't count for us. And then people always want to get a new office, but if we can't even show we have production, that's a negative impact on all of us. And so, you know, I'm trying to work so that we can get a new office, but you guys have to help in with the whole thing. And then just to remind you, there's just a tip. It's not just one person, but or two people, but a lot of people are always asking me for the W-9 form. And you know, usually I just email it. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to show you how to get it. And I think I showed it to you before on one of our Zoom meetings because it is in our SkySlope. So later I will send you what it is to look at. It's under working documents on the home page. And then all you have to do is click Office Docs. And then in that Office Docs, there is the W-9 form. You could show it, George. So see, on your home page, you'll have working docs, but once you click, you'll see the Office Docs. So you click in there, and once you click there, you'll see the W-9 form is where the arrow is. Okay, so you know, you can even access this at 2 a.m. and you don't have to email me. So
and have them notice they have all the checklists there that they can print out and see what they need for their transaction.
Yes, and I saw that we do have a Chino folder, but it's empty right now. And I'm asking the SkySlope guy from Berkshire to put our documents in there, our purchase agreement as well as our listing agreement. And then you have all your disclosure forms. You know, the affiliated business arrangement disclosure is in here as well as the mold disclosure and the hold harmless. So it's in SkySlope, but you got to learn how to use it. Okay, George. So that's a tip. And then also the DigiSign is an excellent tool. I think we went over that at one of our meetings before. But the DigiSign, if you forgot to sign something, you can send it to yourself, sign it, and it's going to be in your document folder in SkySlope. Then you could just attach it to your file. So those are just little tips, but just something that I think is helpful for all of us. And, you know, just to keep us in compliance. And then that way you get your check faster. And I want to say is that I have not always been a good agent in the past. Because I think Jackie was my file checker, and my last thing I always did was the conversation log, which is the really difficult because you have a lot of emails and you have a lot of text messages. So that's probably the hardest thing to put up there because you have to go and collate all that information. But it helps because God forbid we get called into a lawsuit. At least you have that documentation about your conversation with your clients and everybody involved. Okay, moving on. Ordering notepads. I know Beverly was looking at notepads and she gave me Layton, and then I remember that Betty Jo had done this for us in the past about notepads. So Betty Jo, do you want to say anything? You have to unmute yourself. I can't see. Betty Jo, do you want to unmute yourself? There you go.
There you go. I did call them yesterday, and you know, notepads have gone up since we ordered them last because they're like $310 for 1,000 notepads. But that's like 31 cents a piece. So when you break it down like that, it doesn't sound like that much. But when you order in quantity, it will go down. If you order, let's say 5 people ordered 1,000 notepads, the price goes down to $250. So it dropped like $10 each person that was ordering, like 2 people ordering 1,000. It goes to $300. In other words, it dropped from $310 to $300 when you have 2 people. But when you have 5, it drops to $250. But when you have 10, it only drops to $240. So I think there's a quick breakdown, or you know, a lowering of the price for the first 5, and then it takes 5 more to drop it to $240. Also, they said that, shipping is $54 for each order.
Wow.
So the way that can be eliminated is to do will call. We always did that. I know at Charbel, we always had somebody would pick them up for us and drop them off at the office. I don't know how it is right now for Hacienda Heights, because I believe the Layton is in Laverne. So, but with will call, there's no shipping charge. But if you have 5 people and you want it shipped to your home, let's say, and we're at $250, and then you would add $54 in shipping to that.
For each one?
For each order.
So we will pick it up.
Yeah. So if you have some, anybody, with a big car can pick up those, or even a truck, I don't know. Some of you have trucks, right? Some of you guys. So, maybe ladies too, I'm not sure. But, so it is just that ordering 5, 5 people ordering, I felt good about it. Dropped $50, which is good. And then, what did she say? Oh, she's sending me, and I will forward that to you, Leilani. There is a group order form, and everybody has to sign that. And you just have to mention Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Hacienda Heights. You don't have to use my name, just the office. And then that'll go towards the group order. And what else? We'll call for each.
Okay, well, thank you, Betty Jo. I think the notepads are a good investment because you get 1,000. I think there's 25 pages for each. And these are the notepads people don't throw away like they do the postcards, because they like to use it for their lists. And so it is an inexpensive way to get your name out there. And especially if you do your own neighborhood. And Ellen, I'm going to say, I'm sure you're farming your neighborhood now because of your heartbreak from last week's share of 3 listings in your neighborhood. And if they had your notepad, they may have been calling you. So sorry to rub it in, but I'm thinking it's a good example of why we want to keep our name out there. Okay.
Well, Lonnie, notepads really do work. I can attribute listings to notepads, and I've actually seen somebody in a grocery store using my notepad, so I had to introduce myself. They really are, they work.
Yes. So think about it. If you're thinking of farming, the notepad's probably an inexpensive way to go. And you heard Dennis say that according to National Association of Realtors, 69% of all the sales nationwide were from your sphere of influence. And so that could include your neighborhood, your neighbors. Okay? All right, so moving on, if we could pull up the next slide, George. And this is for tomorrow, our corporate training. And this is good, especially for our new agents. If you're not familiar with the escrow process or the title, this is a good training to attend, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning via Zoom. And this will be Michelle Smith. She is the president of the Castlehead Escrow. And then Christy Rye from Orange Coast Title will be presenting tomorrow's training. And again, for newer agents, take a moment to watch this because, the best experience, the best knowledge is gained through experience. But second best is to learn it from the experts so that you're familiar when you get into an escrow, what's going to happen. Or why we need a title, or why we need the property profile and the preliminary title report. Okay, so next one is on Saturday is the optimizing your online professional presence. So again, if you are new and you want to market yourself, this is a good one for you to go to, 10 o'clock a.m. via Zoom, and they will discuss how do we get ourselves out there in the internet world, because not only do the notepads work, but we also want to capture other audiences that might not know us personally. So this is enhancing our professional profiles. And then this is working with your photo. What photo do you have? And we'll make sure that it is included in our website. So I think we have most people, but if you're new, you may not have a photo yet. So encourage you to do that, because we do have a website and people may be searching for you. Okay, so if you can click. No. Oh, you know what? This one I share because we had a managers meeting yesterday, and they're going to have a national sweepstakes called Perfect Home Sweepstakes. And it is, see that little house in the background? They're going to have 5 winners for the whole nation. And they will duplicate the seller's home or the homeowner's home for their pet. So there was a video, and it says 1 bedroom, 0 bathrooms. So it is a replication of the homeowner's home. So this is an opportunity, again, to reach out to your sphere of influence or people you know who have pets that might find this like a cute thing to do. Okay, so when it rolls out, let's take advantage, because it is like the brush of love. You know, it's an opportunity to get your name out there once again. All right. Any questions before we finish for the day?
Is this for only homes like single family, or can be also condos?
Well, it might, you know, that's a good question, Rasha, because like there are homeowners who are in a townhome or a condo, and you know, but they have a pet or some kind of pet. I don't know if they might make a whole condo, but it'll just be a 1-bedroom condo with no bathrooms. So let me find out, but they haven't rolled it out yet. I just saw this on our managers meeting yesterday, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention just to start priming your mind to be reaching out to folks. Okay. Thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you for making the time to be with us today and to hear Art Mortel. So take care. And next week, Thursday, Lunch and Learn. Lenders Lunch and Learn. Take care. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Laugh about, I feel good in a special way.